Welcome to the Pet Business Hiring Podcast. I'm your host, Doug the Dog Guy, and today I'm joined by one of my very close, longtime friends, Amber Van Denzen. She is the owner and founder of Atta Boy Animal Care in Lakeland, Florida. Amber, thank you so much for joining us
No
today.
problem. 'Tis the season.
I'm so excited to talk to you today. I know we're going to talk a lot about how you have transitioned your meet and greets to new client consultations. And we're going to talk about everything that comes along with that and how that helps keep our team safe and happy and all of that good stuff. Before we get into that, though, I do just want to quickly remind everyone that the Pet Business Hiring Podcast is sponsored by Dog Co launch and my very own Pawsitive Hiring Academy. My Pawsitive Hiring Academy is where you can go for all of the resources that you need to go from a solo pet sitter and dog walker to a team leader. If you're interested in learning more about that, you can head over to my website, dougthedogguy.co, and you can see more about my hiring course and my private coaching services there. But with that, Amber, I would love for you to start us by telling us how and why you started a pet sitting and dog walking business to begin
Sure,
with.
absolutely. Way back when, 13 years ago, before the time to pet, and when we were just texting our clients, I was a veterinary professional. I worked as a veterinary nurse since I was 18 years old. Went to University of Florida for animal sciences, wanted to be a veterinarian, all that fun stuff, and ended up merging my loves and needs and abilities because higher chemistries and I were not friends into turning into Atta Boy Animal Care. It came because I needed a pet sitter myself. I was going on my honeymoon. We had a medically needy pup, and we found a local professional pet sitter. It said she had insurance and she'd been around for quite a few years, and she was one of the few that we could find on the Google back in the day. And it was a disaster. I mean, every issue that you could imagine could go wrong did. She screamed at our pets like they were crazy. She left these crazy elaborate notes, but was completely ignoring the pets. She even tripped on our back step and then attempted to try to play the game of you need to pay me or else type moment. And right after that time, I said, fuck that shit. I can do this better. If I'm in this scenario and I'm a professional and I thought I knew what I was looking for and I got in this situation, how many other pet owners that don't have those skill sets are going through this situation as well? So soon after, I said, okay, let's figure out how to do this. I also wanted to merge out of the veterinary industry. It wasn't super conducive with the family lifestyle that I was hoping to have moving into child rearing years and all those fun things. So that's where Atta Boy started.
Wow. And that was 13 years
It
ago, right?
was, yeah, 13 years at this point. I'm an old lady, just kidding.
No way. Wow. So you have a lot of experience between your educational background and then your experience as a vet tech and in the veterinary world, and then 13 years of business ownership. So we have a lot to learn from you
Well,
today.
thanks. I hope so. Maybe. I always felt like I learned from somebody else coming into this industry. I had another veterinary professional friend that started her business, recommended me to do the same. She was in with Pet Sitter International. She led me to Pet Sitter International and, business insurers of the Carolinas and all those like hotspot important things as a business owner that I felt were valuable. It was also a little harder because I had all these things behind my knowledge base, like horror stories of non-professionals coming into the veterinary emergency rooms that made me really want to do things perfectly when I started. And so it delayed me doing a lot of things because I wanted it to be right because I was so scared of fucking up or F-ups occurring. So it definitely caused some problems, especially when I was moving into the team-based approach.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that. I mean, you started pet sitting and dog walking while you were still a vet tech,
Yep.
right?
Yeah. So
So when did you go full time as a pet sitter? And then when did you bring on your first team member?
So I believe it was about 3 years into the business is when I started doing full time. I retired as a veterinary nurse. I'd actually just given birth to a human baby. I started doing pet sitting with the baby in tow, which I do not recommend nowadays, but again, 13 years ago. And right around that time, I realized when I was pregnant, I actually had a medical emergency when I was pregnant. And it was fairly early in. 3, 4 months into my pregnancy, and I was having a great pregnancy prior. And I had a midday dog walk that I had to cancel on. And my husband had to call because no one else knew I had that job. And he had to call the owner saying, "Hey, Amber's in the ER. It's not happening." Luckily, it was not an emergency because again, midday dog walk. But then right around that time, I went, this could happen again. And I really need somebody on my team that knows what's occurring and can also do visits. So I can do more visits, but also do visits in case there was an emergency, like for me having to call out like I did. I hired my first person on Craigslist back in the day, and we met at a local McDonald's. One interview only after she submitted an email resume. I fell in love with her overall. She was a great candidate, and her and I are actually still connected to this day. So I got really lucky that she worked out very well. But I was a horrible boss when it first started because I had no systems and processes. I had no plans in place, and they were independent contractors when I first started as well.
I can relate with that so much. I had no systems and processes when I brought on my first person. We met at, I think it was a Dunkin' Donuts, one interview, and I just threw her into the mix. And she was also an independent contractor. And you are the person that helped me transition my independent contractors to full W 2 employees a few years
I
ago.
remember that conversation in my
Thank
own
you.
kitchen. Yes. We sat for, like, the
Yeah,
whole
thank you
day,
for all
right?
your help
We
on
were
that.
learning things together. I was like, "I've done some steps already that you hadn't done," and, we were learning together, and throughout all these years, we've also continued to learn together throughout all of this, so good glad you're on the team too.
Yeah, if anybody, listening at home would like help transitioning their contractors to employees, I would highly recommend contacting
Aw,
Amber.
thanks, good Doug, yeah. I also have a YouTube channel that I don't post on very often, but there's some great content on there for those persons that are in our industry that are looking to do that as well, so great options.
That's great. What's the name of your YouTube
Amber
channel?
Van Denzen. Oh, no, Pet Sitter CEO, Amber Van Denzen. So, yep.
Awesome. I'll put that link down in the, comments below so everybody can go check it
Cool
out.
deal. Cool deal.
So you started with this one independent contractor that you found on Craigslist. How did it transpire from
Yeah,
there?
so I started hiring more independent contractors because that's what I was recommended. That's what other pet sitting companies were doing. That's not what I would do now. Obviously, I'm a big component of employee-based staff and training from day one that you want a team. But I started growing in a geographic area, and I was adding a couple pet sitters in each location through independent contracting. It was a pain in the butt. There was pros and cons with it. We played the gray area that I'm not training you. You're doing what the client is suggesting. We had issues. Sitters were doing more than they were allotted. They were staying longer than they were allotted. We had sitters changing how they wanted to do things because they were independent contractors, so they could. So soon after, I was in another coaching group. And that person recommended transitioning to employees and telling us about all the reasons and whys. And actually, that while I was in that gray area, that I was probably doing it right, you can easily get audited. And that person can go, while you may be theoretically doing it right, you really should be employees. And then they said the scary words. They can back tax you for all of the years that you've been using independent contractors and not employees if they felt that it should be employees. And I said, I'm done. Okay, we're going to switch to employees. So I did like a maybe 2 month turnaround. It was approaching the end of the year, January 1, and I really wanted to transition. So I transitioned very quickly, told the people on our team that we were switching to employees, gave them some options. We lost some. We kept a majority actually. And we then were in a team based approach for our staff. At that point, we were learning too. We created some SOPs based off of some recommendations of others. We had purchased a pre-made employee manual that some other company was offering. It wasn't the right fit for us. So I was extremely frustrated because it still required a lot of work to really get it down to where we needed it to. But honestly, that was many years ago. We're talking years ago at least, and I'm still working on my SOPs pretty much every week at any given time. You are too, probably.
Yeah, yeah, your SOPs are living, breathing documents that'll never be completely finished and they'll never be perfect, and that's perfectly
I feel
okay.
like I'm like, I didn't know I had to make a commentary about that, or I didn't know I had to make a rule about that. But okay, some silly situation with an animal or a human, usually the human issue, it makes us go, okay, let me write that down, I guess now.
It's almost always issues with the humans, not the animals.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the human issues and the human learning curve of using a professional pet sitter that comes to your home is really where all of our processes stem from. The animal behavior, the animal language, the animal safety and trust, those things I feel like are a much easier process. And there's a ton of content out there that can teach you and your staff those skill sets. But learning the skill sets and creating the processes that teach our potential clients and current clients that we are not like of a subservient situation, that we are professionals in our industry. And while that gray area can be easily confused because we're going into your house and we're literally picking up poop and doing cleaning, they can get confused sometimes. So, from the time that they onboard with us virtually to our consultations and behavior assessments and our continued conversations for the lifetime of their clientele time with us is really mutual respect and creating boundaries from the beginning.
Yeah, mutual respect and boundaries are so crucial to long-term success, and I think in any business, but especially in what we do. Do you have any quick tips for us about setting these types of boundaries
Yeah,
and going about
most
that
things in
stuff?
life, language and body language, but verbal language, written language is really what is going to change the outcome to where you want it to be for your business for long term success, financial success, and staff happiness and success, and your and yourself's happiness and success, which we need to care about ourselves too, right? And that is anything from the language that's on your website all the way through the continued conversations that you have in your reports that you send for your visits. A huge portion of that I really feel is those first, like we call it the first three steps of onboarding that we have. One of them being, which I just mentioned, the consultation and behavior assessment part of that. Priorly or most commonly known as the meet and greet, which is the industry standard currently and what we really have been taught to call that first probable in person meeting that we're meeting with the clients and the pets. We changed that language a few years ago, and it's been a game changer for us.
Yeah, let's really talk about this here. What made you transition from calling it a meet and greet to a consultation?
Wanted to charge for the meet and greet, the consultation. I wanted people to think of it differently than what we saw the new clients were perceiving this meeting was for. Prior to us switching and using the meet and greet title, I really pushed more on the client's needs versus the business's needs of this meeting. With the meet and greet title, when it's been used in other industries as well, it's really thought about and intended for them to do what those words say, meet and greet. They want to meet you, they want to see you, they want to see if they like you, and they're making decisions still with that title. This is a person in the pet care industry that's maybe looking at a couple options still and not quite sure, maybe financially choosing the cheaper option with the meet and greet, or maybe just judging you based off of physical characteristics and your personality versus your business's success and processes. So, what we saw was a lot of people weren't ready to fully commit yet at the meet and greet prior. And I wanted to change that. So, I looked at other companies that were service based industries, some in the animal industry and some outside of it, something from like our AC company or our window company to your boarding and kennel facilities. And a lot of people called them consultations. And a lot of animal industry, like boarding and kennels, called them consultations and behavior assessments. And the behavior assessment was really a huge point for me too, because that's really why we're doing these meetings. It wasn't for us to meet the human as much as check the pet for safety, especially our dog clients realistically, and maybe some kitties that are a little bit more feisty than others. And then all of the other smaller animals, more just to see if it's something we can handle, if it's something that we're comfortable doing, as well as the sanitation and safety of the home. This was really important to me too, because when we switch to employees, there's a different expectation as an employer versus an independent contractor on the cleanliness and requirements of safety for a working environment. And these homes that our employees are going to are legally their working environment. And if you're allowing them to go into a house that's at the level of unsanitary or unsafe, or putting them in a predicament with a dangerous animal, there's a liability factor and just like being a good human factor. I don't want my employees in those scenarios. So when we switched and chose to change it to a CMB, a consultant behavior assessment, that really helped to change the mindset of the potential client of knowing what they were going into with that meeting. We also made sure all of our processes prior to that, from the website, our social media, our communication, and our online client accounts, they were already decided that they wanted us by this point. They weren't making a decision anymore. They actually were kind of jumping through a minor hoop to get approved by us to use our services. Now there's a lot of conversation of trying to avoid hoop jumping and trying to make it as smooth as possible for the employee to get in or the client to get in. Those are very important too. But there's also a piece of they need to commit to something either financially or with time to show value and commitment to us as well. And that's what that consult and behavior assessment did, not only for safety of house, safety of pets, but also them knowing what they wanted before even going into the consult with us.
Yeah, I love that you focused on the mindset of the actual client so much here. I noticed that in my own team, when I had independent contractors, I called it a meet and greet and I didn't charge
Yep.
for it. And the mindset of the clients really was that they were scoping us out and they were doing meet and greets with anybody and everybody that they could schedule with. And I feel like it was very enticing for people that were just looking for like the best deal. Or sometimes people just wanted somebody to talk to because they were lonely, and while we want to be nice people, especially when people are lonely like that, we are running a business here and we have to make these little changes in our business to change the mindset of our clientele. And when I transitioned to full employees, that's when I started charging for the consultations and I stopped calling them a meet and greet and started calling them new client consultations. I mean, I just agree with everything that you just said. It really sets the stage for a successful long-term relationship between our business and their family in so many different ways.
Absolutely. And I'm a person
Tell
too,
me
like, let me interrupt. I'm a person that loves to try all the sauces, as I like to say. Like, if I want to see all my options, I want to try all the different pens before I make a decision. Like, I want to know all my options. So, even as a person who may be the person that wants the meet and greet component, I have to go, I need to be willing, and I've now become the person that tries all the sauces virtually. So I'm gonna do all my research virtually, which is what most people modern day are doing anyways between Google, social medias, and other touch points that you may have in your local community that are, like signs and business flyers and things of that sort. As even a potential client of other companies do this in a different way. And so I needed to accept that I'm willing to be that person. And that's the type of clientele that I want for my business as well. And like you said, the huge factor of being able to charge for it. Meet and greets are almost historically free. In the past, a lot of people still use that free meeting as an incentive to get clientele to come in. It is a marketing tactic, but there is a loss of cause or loss of revenue and profit with that some companies choose to take on as part of the onboarding process, hoping that the conversion rates are better. And that is a viable sales tactic. So I don't want to deny that just because you're going and maybe switching wording to consult and behavior that you can't charge, you definitely can. But what we do with it actually is we have a flat fee for it. We estimate our CMBs to take about 30 minutes approximately. And we charge the same per minute as a 30-minute visit because I still have to pay my staff if they're there or not. And that was the big factor too. I'm not doing these as much. My staff are, whether it's a salaried manager or an hourly lead, they are still doing it. There still needs to be a payment factor associated with it. But what we also do is it gives us flexibility to use it as a marketing tactic and reduce the cost of it or give it away for free in certain scenarios. So we use it sometimes as a good marketing ploy when we're trying to make a good connection with a fellow business. So if I'm really trying to get a good relationship with a local veterinarian, we say, hey, for anyone that you refer to us in the month of March, that we will give a free consult to if they mention they came from XYZ vet. So it gives us this flexibility to give something that we couldn't give away for free before because it was already free. So it gives us a lot of options and make people see perceived value.
Yeah, that perceived value is so important. I love that you're tying this in with your marketing, especially with your relationships with other local businesses like that. I mean, that's so creative. That's such a great way to go
We
about it.
also do it like we're doing a 12 days at the end of the year of, winter or maybe during your slower times, 12 days of fun January, like the new year. That is one of the 12-day like deals that we've done in the past is if an existing client refers somebody, we always usually give them a kickback once they book and pay the new client. But this way we can do a situation, you get a kickback and they get a kickback too. So they get a free insert here situation. We also do require trial visits, so you can flip flop those with one or the other, and they're both paid services.
That's great. Tell me more about your behavior assessment and these trial visits. And I would really love to know how and why this benefits your team so much.
Yeah. So the consultant behavior assessment, like I said, takes about 30 minutes approximately with us streamlining the conversation. Because, like you mentioned, people love to tell stories and connect with people. So we really have to make sure we set the groundwork and the guidelines and the expectations right from the beginning. So within the email conversations or messengers through our software, we use Time to Pet as an example. More recently, we're recent converters. That thanks to Doug.
If you are looking for the best way to handle scheduling and invoicing for your pet sitting and dog walking business, as well as a way to keep track of all of your clients' notes and instructions, and have a way for them to digitally agree to your terms of service and even instant message with your team and get report cards from each of their pet sits and dog walks, I use Time to Pet, and Time to Pet has been a game changer for my business. You can save 50% off of your first 4 months if you sign up with my special link, timetopet.com/Doug. Again, that is 50% off of your first 4 months with my link, timetopet.com/Doug.
That we send messaging and wording that clarifies this will be an approximate 20 to 30-minute visit. We actually say a shortened time frame. So again, perceived value. If they get 30, they feel like they got more. And then we tell them what we're going to be doing. You're going to show us around to all the key locations, food, water, litter boxes, outside play places, etc. During this time, we'll be ignoring your pet initially, but we'll be doing visual observations and then eventually physical touching to see how they handle us. I use keywording like we're not going to be best friends right away, and that's okay. We're just trying to teach your pet to see and show that we are safe humans, and more safe humans will be coming into their home because I don't want to ruin this relationship now. We'd rather prefer a slow grow, successful relationship long term. Other key things that we mention is that the house in our onboarding process, they fill out their client account. It does have clear guidelines that they have to agree to. I'm not talking about your 50 plus point contract because most people skim through that. But in the parts where they're talking about like locations of items and things, we do put your house has to be clean and sanitary with no obvious foul odors, and no pet waste more than 24 hours old, aka litter boxes have to be clean at least once that day, or fecal matter has to be picked up in your small animals' cages, etc. So we set that standard that they agree before they even do the consultation. We do the same thing with like the medical aspects of the heat pets. They have to be free of transmissible diseases, fleas, and obvious ticks, things of that sort. So they have those standards already and they're clicking agree. So hopefully, if they don't hit those standards, they are going to self call themselves out and not finish it and not get to the point of wanting to request a consultation and behavior assessment. That allows us to have that safe environment for our employees that is safe of, unsanitary smells. I'm talking like the ammonia smell of the really bad litter boxes that are not being taken care of, or fecal waste that's not being picked up because we worry about things like toxoplasmosis or other things that can harm our lungs. We've had clients that we've walked into houses that they tried to hide the urine smell by spraying bleach on it, and that's their routine. Ammonia plus bleach is toxic gas. So those moments are being communicated from the beginning before we enter the house. Once we get to the house, the staff person, or one of our leads or managers or myself, enter the house, and we have a certain uniform that we wear that's slightly elevated. We've done t-shirts before, but we do a slightly elevated, same colored of our company top. So we have like a purple flowy top, not quite polo status, so not too corporate in our opinion. Some type of black or jean bottom, closed-toed shoes, branded material like a pin or something on them. They bring with them a treat bag. We review the pet's diet to make sure that's good to go, as well as some marketing materials like rack cards or business cards, because paper hangs around their house. We then walk in and we deliberately wipe our feet at the door to be a little obnoxiously like, hey, we care about your house. We give some type of compliment about the house. Thanks for letting me into your beautiful home, or I love your photos, or whatever it is that you can pull in that moment based off of the scenario in. Right away, the dogs are usually dogs are running straight towards us, or the cats are running straight away from us typically. And then at that point, we casually let ourselves in. So they tend to open the door and we confidently walk in the house, usually close the door behind us because the client usually lets go of the door, and we lock the door, again, showing little micro attentions to details. And then from there, we hand them the goodies like, hey, we brought you some goodies. And they go, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You're amazing. We know. Just kidding. And then we right away set a standard. I go, hey, by the way, my name is Amber. I wanted to let you know I'm going to have my phone out. I'm not ignoring you. I'm making notes to make the best process possible. I'm also going to be ignoring Fluffy and Fido temporarily to let them do their thing, sniff me out, and not have too much pressure. That's where I pull in that best friend, like we're not trying to be best friends right away statement. And from there, I make the statement of, can you show me around all the important locations for your pets? Food, water, litter boxes, etc. And then while you're doing that, I'm going to be making some notes. Then I'm going to want to go outside in the backyard if it's a fenced-in yard, or I'm going to want to put your dog on leash if we're doing a leash walk situation to quickly see how they do. During this time, while they're showing me all those important locations, I redirect conversation if they're trying to show me all the non-important locations like paper towels and extra things that they've already filled out in the account. I don't need to see those in person. It reduces our time for our consultation. From there, I'm observing the dogs and cats and other animals, whatever animals we're taking care of at that same time. So I'm looking for the classic behavior body language that we don't need to get into. If you need more of that, find it on Fetch Find, Pet Sitter International, etc., Pet Sit Pro. And we're making keynotes inside of our head in a flag colored system: red flag, yellow flag, green flag. So I'm saying no obvious problems at a green flag, little questionable nervousness or fear or aggression that's like not being obvious, but like pinned ears, all that fun stuff. Yellow flag. Red flags are trying to eat me automatically. That's a big problem. Obviously, whole different conversation. From there, we're then letting the pets approach us if they want to. And while the client is talking about all the important stuff and locations, at any given time, we may start interacting physically with that pet. And that varies based off of that pet's personality. It may be within the first 5 seconds of us entering the house, and it may be at the last 5 seconds as of trying to leave the house. But we're doing key touches, which is really common in the boarding and kennel facilities: touching ears, hands, paw, and hands. paws, tails, even mouth and teeth. Like I'll play with their lips and things, rub their back. I'll even try to do some pressure points along the spine to see if I get any reactions of pain. So we know if there's any key not fun spots. The clients also noted that in the account as well. So if they say Fluffy doesn't like to touch his toes, I'm not going to obviously probably touch his toes, but I may attempt to casually just be like, yep, that's right. They said that. Don't do that. You're right. From there, when we're doing all of that, we're making those notes. If there's ever an issue, we automatically verbalize it out loud. And we tell the client, oh, did you just see Fluffy? He actually tried to do a little nip at me. Or, oop, Fluffy's a little grumpy right now. He's making some not so happy growls at me. I'm just letting you know, and we're calling that a yellow flag right now. Don't worry, you're not like banned or anything right now. I'm projecting those concerns or fears that they may have verbally, so they're not sitting there in their brain going, oh no, and now they can't concentrate, the human, because they're worried that they're going to fail or get denied. So I'm just letting them know the things I'm observing. So when at the end of the meeting, if I say it's not a good fit, they're like, what do you mean? You haven't said anything for 30 minutes. No, I have been. Well, you're like, we have been talking about this the whole time. So that's kind of the general process. We go into the backyard. So again, we can check fences, see if there's holes, all those fun things, and then have conversations and be very clear with changes we may need to make. Hey, I see a huge hole in your fence. Oh, Fluffy never goes through that. We're going to need you to block that. Hey, oh, this is Fluffy and, 4 other dogs' food all in the same containers. Fluffy's on the left, blah, blah, blah's on the right, whatever. Can you actually just put their names on that for us? With a Sharpie or a label maker. I know I can make notes, but just in case humans make mistakes too, people love it actually. They actually say, wow, you really thought of everything. Wow, you really noticed those details. And I didn't even think about that. A key comment we also make when they say like, oh, Fluffy never gets into that, or Fido or whomever, we go, they act a little differently while you're away. Even though their stress is much lower because they're in their favorite home with all their safe things, you're still going to be gone and a new human is still going to be in the house. So their stress point is way better than a boarding or kennel facility, but there is still a stress level there that makes them make different decisions. I tend to bring in just think of a teenager that maybe is your straight A perfect teenager, but when the mom and dad are away, still probably will make some not so great decisions because that's what they do. And that's what the animals are going to do too. When I give them a comparable to human life, they tend to understand it a lot more and respect it and get why we're asking for those changes.
This is an incredible setup that you have. I love how much you communicate to the client before the consultation and then being so proactive and so attentive to the small details in the consultation. I mean, this sounds incredible. I'm pretty proud of how we do our consultations, but you just listed like 10 things that I'm not even doing. So
It's fair.
I've got to reevaluate my own
I do
systems.
have one more key point about our consultations. We tend to do it right at the end aspect of it. And this is something we added post COVID because we saw a lot of pets that's confidence was directly related to their owner being present. So before COVID, we would do a consultation, no trial, book whatever services they want. And the first time we saw them again, these pets, was at that visit, whether it was a midday dog walk or vacation. What happened is there may be specifically a perfect dog at a consultation that was direly unsafe at the first visit because they had fear-based aggression. Their confidence was completely gone when their owners or humans were not present, and they got so scared that they felt they needed to protect themselves. We actually had our very first bite right after COVID of one of our employees because of this, and we made drastic changes on how we did things because of it. At the end of the meeting, typically when we've gone through all those information and notes with the client, we've seen everything we needed to see internally and externally of the property. We then let the client know, hey, this is a time that we're going to do some question and answers that you may have. But I want us all to walk outside in a part of your property your dogs can't see us. This is more again for the dogs, but also cats, that I don't want them to be able to see you. And we're going to, for 3 to 4 minutes, talk outside. This is typically where we're having them download the app if they haven't done it already, confirm the dates that they may be requesting, or answer any questions that may have not been answered already, which is probably the lesser of all those other two options. During that time, I then go, I'm going to walk back into your house alone. I'm going to make some obnoxious noises. I'm going to aggressively bang on your door and shake your door and enter the house. And then I want to see how your pets react to me when you're gone for even just a few minutes away from them. If the dogs are typically caged, we put them in the cage before we walk out of the house. Or if there's a concern of a pet's behavior, like they're like at a yellow, maybe going to orange, and I'm a little concerned for safety at that point, I may ask them to be contained behind some type of door, cage, whatever, just for my safety entering for the or my staff's safety before entering that house again. I then do exactly that. I start knocking on their door, shaking their door, ringing the doorbell a couple seconds. I then enter the door with full confidence as much as possible and then start saying, "Oh, hi, Fluffy. Hi, Cinco, whatever. How's it going?" And then let them out of the cages or interact with them and go to a backyard if possible almost immediately. Not making direct eye contact, just trying to see how they're doing in those moments. I will tell you the amount of dogs, especially dogs, that we have declined because the minute we walk in, there are fear-based aggression immediately. And I do give them, again, 3 to 5 minutes to see if there's any transition. We're going to pull out those treats the client had on the counter or food kibbles to see if we can transition, or after a few minutes of the reactive to the door, if there's any body language changes that may allow us to exit them out of the cage. But if not, we're pretty confident that those pets are not going to be passable and be able to successfully do a trial visit. This has been a game changer for us. The clients love it as well. This is also a moment where I do a quick couple photos of the pet so we can add it to the report that we send after the consultation through our software. So they can already see some cute photos, hopefully, and our quality of attention to detail with that very first message that they get sent after this. If a pet is not doing well, this is also where we would do a video. So there's no he said, she said. They can see directly what I was seeing. So if the dog is lunging at the cage or has all the bad body language, the scary body language that I go, ooh, oh boy, we have some situations to work through. That's where we're going to do it through. Now, if there's a dog that's still teeter-tottering, I had one just 2 days ago, actually, a smaller cavadoodle, 10-pounder thing. He was a little nervous Nelly during the consult with owner present. He ran to his cage, which was his safe spot. I tried to approach him in the cage with a treat. He took the treat from my hand very hesitantly, but then I used one finger to try to touch his nose, and he tried to snap. And I said, okay. But when he was out of his cage, out of his safe zone, I knew I was pushing a boundary. I wanted to see, though. He was much better. But I said, let me see. And right away, I told the owner, yellow flag, little concern. Let's see if we can work through this, though. Because this is more of I see that this is a potential to work through, maybe with practice or just time. And so we did the outside moment. I came back in. He was in his cage. He, once again, didn't like me necessarily going into the cage with him, hands or anything. But the minute I opened the door, he ran out. He was happy dappy. He took a treat from me. And then we actually, in 3 to 5 minutes, I sat on the floor and he came up to my lap and licky me, and we were besties. So he actually did better without the owner present, funny enough. And then so that gave the confidence to the client. But at that point, though, we tell them we're going to do a trial visit. The trial visit is another visit anytime after the consultation and behavior assessment, later that day, a day or two later is ideal, that we go into a routine visit and do a dry run as much as possible of everything. This is to fix any flaws, alarm codes they forgot to fix and edit, see if the pet does well again with a new human from our team that they haven't met. So that manager or lead that was there before at the consult is not the same person doing the trial visit. We need to see if they do well now in the team-based approach that we offer. So at that point, we can do all the dry runs, fix all the problems, or notice that the dog or cats are having, or other animals are having concerns with us being in the house. This is also giving a moment for the client to train themselves on how they need to prep their house and do all those fixes before they go on vacay or for our first set of midday dog walks. This trial can be the first midday dog walk that they need as well, because it's a non-essential, non-dire moment if a concern arises that we need to pause or stop the visit early because of behaviors. So those are all the reasons why we do this, not just because we can make money extra on the consults and the trial visits, but because of the safety processes. And since then, we haven't had a single dog bite. We have had very little not fireable, but non-processed approved clients as well, because most people call themselves before getting even to the visits because we saw or they had to answer questions of, has your dog ever needed a muzzle at a veterinarian or a groomer? Has they ever had a bite history? Have they ever attempted to bite or snap at somebody? And then going through that consult, if we see a concern then that we are pretty confident is not rectifiable, we will not offer them a trial visit. We will instead refer them to a professional dog trainer that maybe has boarding opportunities as well. So it hits best of both worlds for their needs coming up.
Wow.
And yes, that's
Wow.
all in 30 minutes, I
I am
promise. Yeah.
I know there's a lot of fear when people are starting to hire and build their team about what happens if my team member gets bit, or what if the dog doesn't like my new employee. And you are solving all of those issues and you're answering all of those questions by adding this extra step to the end of the consult, asking the client to go outside, you going back into the home, and then having this trial visit afterwards. I mean, if people listening at home added those steps to their processes, I'm sure that they could eliminate so much fear that they may have about going to the team-based approach. I think this is
The other
amazing.
cool thing is once we started adding in the required trial visit, especially for vacation-based clientele, if you have those, if you're not just midday dog walking, what we found out is when people used us for that moment because were gone for the day for work, or they were going on a date night or out night dinner with friends situation, or a day at the beach or Orlando or whatever in Florida, that when they did it that one trial visit, they're like, "Oh, that was actually kinda nice. I didn't have to rush back. Oh, I didn't have to take my lunch break to go take out Fluffy." And then a lot of the vacation clients started using us either for midday dog walks or, pop-in visits as needed when those opportunities arose. So now we converted a vacation client to more of pop-in visit opportunities. Maybe not consistently, but still more income because of that one step that's more for us than them, but then it sold them on how nice that opportunity to get their human freedoms back were.
That's great. That's amazing. Tell me more about your structure with your team, kind of moving out of the consult and moving forward. Do you have your team members come with you to the consult so you're all meeting the client at once, or how does all that work in your
Yeah, so
business?
we fully sell the team-based approach where you don't get to meet your sitters whatsoever unless a lead that's doing one of your visits happens to also do some pet sit visits for you as well. You may get lucky on that stance, but usually they never meet the sitters that are working with their pets. And we totally tote that your type of pet needs to be content at least with new humans and not best friends. Now that does eliminate some clientele, and our one bad Google review, not Google, Yelp review, I'm not even too worried, was because we said that to a client that was an existing client of ours when we were transitioning to a lot of the team-based approach, and she said, "That's not normal for a company to expect dogs to be friends with everyone." And I said, "Well, then your dog is not meant for our company." And because there's plenty of happy dappy dogs that do just fine with that, and happy cats and happy rabbits and content reptiles, that use our services. So we don't do that at all. We do a welcome call. That's usually a lead manager or myself at this point. I'm actually training another staff person to take those over. Then we do the consultation and behavior assessment, then the trial visit. The welcome call person and the CMB person could be the same person, which is fine. The CMB person and the trial person are different people. So when we're scheduling that trial and CMB, we're actually doing it on the welcome call. So it's already ready to go and pre-scheduled, and we don't have to wait and delay and wait and delay. We use the scheduling that we have available with our leads. We know their availability for the next coming up week or so we can auto schedule it on the phone with that client. Or we have a lead manager that has a lot more flexibility in her schedule to be able to pop in and do those as well. From there, we then, after the CMB is completed and the trial visit is completed, that's when we would book their services officially. And we would assign our staff to the visits based on solely our typical scheduling processes. So whatever that is to your company. So whether that's by shift scheduling or putting it on your Slack channel, first come, first serve. That's how those get scheduled. So they may have, but they typically have on average 2 to 3 sitters if they have 2 to 3 days worth of visits because people work different days and different time shifts. Some clients, that is nerve wracking to them initially because they may be coming from a solo person or a friend and family member, or they're not sure how their pet's going to have to get used to it. During our consult and behavior, we do touch on that. And we really tell them this is better for your pet because they're getting that interaction and mental stimulation of teaching them that many humans can be okay. And if you're teaching just like a human child that one person is safe only, or would you rather have a village of safe people? Really, the village is your best bet. Because I tell them eventually someone's going to retire, someone's going to move, someone's going to change a job. And if you're stuck with your same solo, just like you were a moment ago, that's why you're with us. They left, they retired, they moved. You have to start all over. The average solo sitter that's, newer in the industry, I forget the exact facts, but I want to say it's like a 2 to 3 year burnout time that they close their business. So you're going to be in this scenario every 3 years that your dog and cats and animals are going to have to relearn a new human, and that fear is there again. Versus using our team, they're going to eventually be desensitized, hopefully, and go, a lot of humans are safe, a lot of humans are nice, and I can be content and confident. And that's going to make their job as a pet owner easier for all the years they are as a pet owner.
Wow, I love that way of framing it. Going through these extra steps at the beginning and then using your team-based approach is not only just good for your business, but it's actually
For the
good
pets.
for
Yeah.
them as pet owners and for the pets. That's
We're here
amazing.
for, right? It's like, yeah, we're here for money and love, and everybody needs a job, and I love animals, and I could have done a million other things. But if I really care about my industry, I care about the pets and I care about the humans. And if I can have them have a better experience, more people are going to adopt animals or be a pet owners. More people are going to take on maybe multiple pets because they've been through this process and have a team of helpers like their pet sitters, their groomers, their trainers on their team to make their pet ownership easier. And you're not just doing this to make our lives as a business owner easier. You're here to protect the values of pet ownership. And I think that's a huge responsibility on us to be in this industry.
I couldn't agree more.
I fucking
I
like
think that
animals,
is
okay?
such a beautiful way to put it. I love it. I love it. And this allows your actual scheduling process to be easier as well. This allows your team to be able to go in without scheduling another consult or scheduling an introduction visit. They can walk in because you've already tested all of these things
Yeah,
previously.
we did that when we had ICs that they would shadow us anytime we transitioned to a new IC, and they would come to one of the with the other sitters to learn the process and things. Really, if your software is set up the way it should be and you have clear guides and communication and written words, then you don't really need that in-person process. If your training processes of your staff are very direct, now of course there has to be flexibility because not all animals and homes are the same, but if you have clear guidelines on an expectation for every house, there's really no reason to have to do that. And when you're hiring the right people that have the confidence to do that on their own with the written word that you have in the client account, then you're going to be long-term successful. If you hire staff that need that more handheld situation, then that's maybe not the right type of hire for this process either. And we've had that happen in the past as well, especially when we were transitioning and our staff were used to having those shadow visits with each new client and getting paid for that as well. Let's note that when we eliminated those, there are some people like, this is not for me. One, because they're like, well, that was an extra visit I'm losing cost wise. And then two, they're like, I want somebody to just guide me and handhold me. I'm trying to teach and create confident pets, and I have confident staff as well.
That's just amazing. I'm taking notes over here. I hope everybody at home is taking notes. As we wrap up this conversation, is there anything else that you want to tell us about your consultations or just any hiring tips you want to share? Anything else at all that you want people at
My
home to
brain is
know?
so full of so many things, right? Because you can always learn, right? I think the biggest thing is I'm a person that takes a long time to do changes sometimes. That sometimes fucks with my business pretty badly too. I fully acknowledge this. That's a me problem. Change is hard, as we all hear for our entire lives with anything. When your favorite soda changes, when your favorite water bottle's not available anymore, like emotional support water bottle, especially, like change is hard. You worry about what people will think, or I'm going to lose so many clients if I don't do a free consultation because everybody else is around me doing free consultations or free meet and greets, whatever you want to call them, or people aren't going to believe what they need to know on the website. Incorrect. We have a very successful business. We have 10 people on our staff and we're doing it just fine. And we're not in a big city. Okay. We're in a suburban town and it's very doable and it will make long-term success for you to have this business long-term, retire, hopefully, make the financials you need or make the life that you need successful and that business successful for you and your team. Our staff stay around for a long time because of this. We have low turnover. I'm staying around obviously long term for this, 13 years already and can't see an end in sight. This is something that we need to make micro changes that also not are just good for our company, but good for the industry as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's so important for us as business owners to not just think about our own little bubble, but to truly consider what's best for the entire industry as a whole, especially right now with there's so much change and growth and everything else happening across the pet care industry in general, but especially on the pet sitting and dog walking
Oh,
side right
yeah.
now. So I'm just so glad that you
Yeah,
mentioned that.
absolutely. I think with anything, like whether you're as a human, as a business owner, as a pet owner, shit, like I've made changes about my pet ownership all the time. Just got a new cat, haven't owned a cat in 5 years. I take care of cats all the time. I should know certain things. The things I wanted the day when she came into my house are very different than 3 weeks in that I'm like, oh, we're not doing that anymore. We have to be able to be flexible and change and grow with the industry and to be able to survive long term. Others changing will make all of our lives easier as well, ultimately. It's no different than price increases. When one person lowballs themselves, it makes it really hard for every other person. And honestly, when they lowball themselves at the beginning, they're probably not going to be around long term, right? But fear makes us not want to do things. Same, I get it. But at the same time, sometimes you just have to say, which is one of my favorite phrases, fuck that shit. We just have to move forward and do changes that make sense for our employees, our hiring, our success in hiring and hiring the right people. And then ultimately, them knowing with confidence, our employees, what their process is, knowing that they are safe. Because anything in life, if you know you're safe, you can be more successful. So
So
true.
true.
Yeah.
So true.
Except on roller coasters. Just kidding. Like, I still say, please, I just want to have some fun. Please don't kill me. I just want to have some fun.
Speaking of what's best for the industry as a whole, you and I are both some of the co-founders of the Florida Pet Services Association. And right now we are in the middle of planning our 2026 summit for FPSA. We will be at the Jacksonville Humane Society in August 13th to the 15th, 2026. Our tickets just went on sale. Tell us a little bit more about the Florida Pet Services Association and what people can expect at our summit in August.
I love conferences and summits. I've been to Pet Sitters International, which was my first one. And I've been to multiples. National Association of Pet Sitters. I actually helped plan some of those. Been to the Texas Pet Sitters Conference. I didn't get to go to the Dog Co this year because it was on my daughter's birthday, but I do plan on going next year. Summits and conferences are really the backbone of projection of success in your business. Conferences, a lot of people go, oh, it's because I'm going for the speakers. Yes, the speakers are important, but I learn more by connecting with other businesses that maybe I've seen comment on Facebooks and socials or YouTubes like Mr. Doug him here himself, little fancy pants over here. But really like being able to be honest and open with other companies so they can be honest and open with me. And the amount of changes and growth and just thought processes, I leave with a notebook of notes that just make me go, wow, all these things that I can change maybe now, maybe later, edit, move forward with, or just things I never thought about of like, oh, I need to make a rule for that. Never thought about that. are just a key component of being a successful business. Continuing education, whether it's within the pet care industry or outside of the pet care industry by doing bigger business type conferences, are really how you're going to grow as a business owner. And without that, you are just going to stay stagnant and naive. And you really don't want that as a human or as a business owner at all. The FPSA conference we specifically created, we didn't make a dime from it. It's a nonprofit, right? Right? It's really meant to help other businesses because it's something we wanted when we were that size and location. It's great for Florida professionals because you don't have to travel out of state. It's drivable usually. We rotate the areas within Florida, so it's more available to many smaller businesses that are just starting up or people that can't travel maybe for one reason or another and can't get to out of state conferences from our other friends. So this is a great component. The other component is we keep it small purposefully. So it's really anywhere 60 people and under. Most conferences range from 150 plus. I've been to some veterinary conferences that were 25,000 people that are amazing, but for different reasons. The FPSA conference, I can meet them. I get to know about their friends, family, kids, and dogs and pets, cats' names, and I get to learn about their business to really see how we can grow and develop and refer to each other long run. We also have a lot of people coming from out of state because we're Florida and it's awesome to do Florida weather stuff, but also they're meeting with friends that they haven't seen and comrades that maybe they're in coaching groups together or social media groups together, and they get to bond and connect as humans. Because guess what? The people that really understand what we're going through day to day are the people that have to pick up the shit just like us too.
Amen to that. Well, I again just agree with everything you just said. I love going to conferences. I've made some lifelong incredible friends at different pet care conferences over the years, and this is our fourth conference for the Florida Pet Services Association, and it's just so much fun. I love planning them. I love being there. I love speaking at them. I love just more than anything, like you said, building these connections and these relationships with other people that actually understand what it's like to be walking a dog in the rain or have your phone fall out of your hoodie pocket straight into a dirty litter box.
So
You
many
know,
times.
there's
So many things.
so many things that we go through that our friends and family just don't
Absolutely.
understand.
I love that we're hosting
So
it at the Humane Society of Jacksonville this year. We were at the Tampa Bay Humane Society last year, and we're putting our dollars, so the dollars that people are investing in their ticket that we have to pay for a location instead of a big hotel, we're giving it back to a rescue. And those are going directly to being able to support these rescue animals, adopt out these rescue animals. We also give a percentage of ticket sales to organizations throughout the years. We've purchased pet first aid kits that we gave out to unhomed populations and adopt future adopters. Last year, we did direct donation to the Tampa Bay Humane Society to correlate to reduced or free adoptions of animals. I actually adopted a dog myself while I was there. It was crazy. Like the amount of good.
Miss
Yeah, Waffles is
Waffles,
fantastic. She's the best ever. Right.
she's so
So
cute.
cute. Yeah, she had 10 babies. She had boobies hanging down to her knees when I saw her, and I made my husband drive from an hour away to pick her up the first night of the conference. It was crazy. But we do so much good, which is a huge part of that too. And you get to meet animals while you're there. You'll get to be able to they have open cat rooms that you can go hang out and give them mental stimulation. So you're doing good while you're there as well. So, I mean, best few days ever.
Absolutely. Everybody that's listening at home, if you're interested in joining us at the fourth annual Florida Pet Services Association Summit, August 13th through the 15th, 2026, you can head to flpetassociation.org, and our tickets are available right now. And if you're interested in speaking at the conference or becoming a sponsor, there's also a form for you to apply to be a speaker on the website, and you can reach out to Amber or I about being a sponsor, or if you just have any questions about the summit and what you can expect, please reach out to us. We would love to talk to you about this. We'd just love for you to join
Absolutely. And the
us.
great part is having a small smaller conference for speakers and sponsors, you really get to know the people that you are speaking to or tabling it with, and you have more one-on-one connection time versus having to do a bulk amount of people. So conversion rates are much better for our speakers and sponsors for the things that they want to convert those people for too. And then our conference attendees get these one-on-one connections with speakers and sponsors to ask those deeper questions, not have to wait for email responses or have to look through the whole amount of the internet to find the right vendor that they may need to make their business better. So like our lead sponsors like Time to Pet and Barkington Solutions for websites are huge factors of success for those attendees because they're looking for those resources and not having to hunt through a million of them to find the ones that are trustworthy and real and justifiable of the cost. They're there with a real human face being able to talk to them one on one, which is huge and such a benefit for our attendees, speakers, and sponsors alike.
Totally, totally. With that, I think that's a good place to wrap this conversation up. Amber, thank you so much for taking time to
Yeah.
talk to us all today and sharing your 13 years plus of wisdom and knowledge. Just so much to learn from you. Tell everyone where they can learn more about you and get in
Yeah,
touch with you.
absolutely. So you can find me on YouTube on Pet Sitter CEO Amber Van Denzen. You can also email the business if you wanted to, info at attaboyanimalcare.com to connect. And you can find my personal page on Facebook. I'm an open book, Amber Van Denzen.
Awesome. I'll put all of your links in the podcast description so people can click and go straight to your content. Again, thank you so much for taking your time for us today.
But we're all here together and we all need to learn together. And we're not, as we always say in many venues, comrades over competition.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. With that, my name's Doug the Dog Guy. That's Amber Van Denzen, and we are reminding you to stay positive.